Welcome to day 10 of the 30-day AI Automation Pro Challenge. The challenge where you become an AI Automation Pro in just 30 days, no matter if you are a complete beginner or you already have a little bit of AI experience. So far, we already achieved quite a lot. We learned about the basics of n8n, we created a first workflow at n8n, we set up a cloud server, you got your own domain, we deployed your own website, and then we also deployed our very first basic Flask app. And in that day number 10 of the challenge, we will further develop that Flask app into something truly useful. Because at the end of the day, we are still working on our first example project, and this is the yacht configuration of our example yacht company. And at that point, we have a website that looks like that, right? We have our yachting company and we have the yacht creator. But right now, this is just static, it's not functional. But step by step, we want to turn that into a functioning yacht creator, a yacht configurator, where a user can configure his own yacht and then a nice image is showing up. But that's not all. We also want to have nice bullet points and the logo and everything. And before we keep going, I just show you what we want to achieve actually with that yacht calculator. And to do that, I show you now what I designed in Canva. So at the end of the day, we want to achieve that our Flask app can turn a template like that with just a plain logo and a black background into something that looks like that. Okay, so we have the logo up here, we have a nice image of the yacht, and we have the name of the yacht, and then some important facts about the yacht. And such an image should then be sent back to our website, and exactly in that window we want to see the entire finished yacht configuration with the image, the logo, and the bullet points. And part of that will be a n8n workflow, the one we already started building at the very beginning of the challenge, but also a Flask app, because we can create the image with the n8n workflow, but at one point we need to assemble everything with the template, the logo, the yacht image, and the bullet points. And this will happen in a Flask app. And today's topic is setting up that Flask app so that we can turn the template together with an image into exactly the nice yacht configuration that we want to see. And I can already present you the final result by looking at an automation that I built for my personal LinkedIn account. So here we are in my personal LinkedIn account, and I set up an automation, which we will also talk about later in the challenge when you learn about LinkedIn automation, that basically turns text prompts that I provide into finalized LinkedIn posts. Okay, and now I want to show you how this works so that you get an idea what we are actually building. You see, I already prepared one post, and when we fire up that workflow, you will see what happens. You see, I disconnected it from my LinkedIn so it doesn't go out, but we can see how the workflow operates. So we click here to execute. And now the workflow reads my Google Sheet, and then it also creates a suitable image prompt. Then it reaches out to replicate, it creates the image, and then it is downloading the image in the next step. Here with the LLM, it creates the title and the bullet points and so on, and then it reaches out to a Flask app, and exactly there is happening the same thing. We have a template and we get back a final post. So let's have a look what it created, because in that step we then downloaded it so we can have a look. And now you see exactly what it did. We provided a template like the one I showed you of the yacht company. The workflow created an image, and then we have a nice title, maximize business impact with n8n, and then we have some bullet points representing the entire idea. And right now we already created that part of the workflow in the very beginning, where we basically just created until here so that we get the image, right? And now we have to take care of that part where we reach out to a Flask app, and then we get back such a URL where we can download then the final post as you saw it here. Okay, so now we take care of that part. No worries, I come back to that later. We will talk about n8n and how you integrate it. I just wanted to show you already the big picture so that you see how everything step by step comes together. All right, and of course, we will again use ChatGPT to tell us exactly what to do so that we get a Flask app that can actually do that. And for that, I prepared a prompt. Now we keep going with that exactly in the same ChatGPT prompt where we stopped before. Now that we have the basic Flask app running, I need you to further develop it into the app I actually need. I'll provide you a Python app I already created earlier. I will also provide you that app. Look at it carefully and give me all the bashes for the folders that I need to create on my server. I then will manually put the right files in, template, font file, etc. Also tell me if I need to install new Python packages, dependencies in my virtual environment to get the new app running. I will then just switch out the existing app with the one I show you and restart systemd and nginx. Give me also a curl so I can already test out the new app and if everything is running correctly. This is the Flask app I created earlier. And then I provided it the entire code of a Flask app that I already created earlier for my LinkedIn automation and also for other social media automations that I created for clients. And I will also provide you the entire app code, of course, so that you can just use that for yourself. And before we paste that now to ChatGPT, I want to show you real quick what this Flask app is actually doing and how it is structured. So here we are in my GitHub repo, and I recommend you to also download that app from the resources at challenge.germanaiCreator.com and just import it to your GitHub repo so that you can have a look at it like that. And now you see exactly what I already told you at the basics about Flask apps. At the top, we import now a little bit more. So we have more packages and dependencies. Then here the actual app starts. And first we define some path. So these are basically the folders where the images are stored, the template is stored, and also the font, which is Montserrat. Then here in that area, we have some helper functions until exactly, let me see until here. Okay, how do I know that? You see that whenever a function starts with this @ sign, this is an endpoint that we can reach with an API. So there's something is going in and out, but all above is just function and helpers. So these are called by the endpoints below. And we don't have to understand what exactly is happening here, but you see things like clear folder. So this is a function that the endpoint can call, and then it clears the folder before moving on. Or down here, we download the image to the folder. So after we get the image from the n8n workflow, we will download it to our server and store it. So this function is doing that. Then we load the fonts here, the Montserrat font, so that we have a certain font for our post, and so on and so on. So every little function is doing a little step in the entire process of creating that post image. And then we have our app routes, our endpoints, and these are down here. You see we have post output and we have here generate post, and this will be the endpoint that we contact with the n8n workflow so that we can actually start the app and receive our final post image. And it defines everything that needs to be done to get our final post image. And then down here we have our port 5002. So this is everything you need to know about the app. You see it's 278 lines of code, not too big, but of course way bigger than the little app that we created just yesterday. And now when we paste that big prompt to ChatGPT, we get all the information and all the steps that we need to execute to get this app running on our server. Then we can test it out, then we connect it to n8n, and step by step everything comes together. All right, so now we just make a copy of the entire prompt until the very end, until here. Then I go to the exact same chat that we left yesterday. You see exactly the same one, and we paste the big prompt here. Okay, so this is the entire big prompt, including the entire app. And I send it out. And now ChatGPT will create all the bashes and everything we need to do for us. Again, I will provide you also all my bashes. So in case something goes wrong or you get lost, you can just take my files, always make sure to adjust them to your own IP address and your own domain name. All right, so it is working. It is basically doing now the work for us. Just have to wait a couple of seconds, and when this is done, I get back to you. All right, it is done. You see, it understood perfectly what I want. Awesome. Let's wire your new image composting Flask app in cleanly. You see, I did not even mention that, but it just understood just by looking at the code what it's actually all about. It is a image composting app. All right, it also understood which folders we need. It gave us the bashes that we need to run in the terminal and also the right permissions, etc. And we can now just execute on that script. And this is what we do now. All right, guys, a little change of plan at that point. I tested it out and I encountered some errors. So what I initially planned did not work right away. Because of that, I decided that we will not work now with the prompt that I initially showed you, the big prompt with the app and everything, but I already built that, I tested it out, and now I just show you the exact bashes that you have to use to get the app running. I think this is the easiest way because, you know, I could have also filmed the entire debugging and the back and forth, but I think this will just cut off so many people because at the end of the day, it's confusing and I just want to show you what is actually working, and I want to save you the pain of the entire debugging. Because of that, also go to the resources to day 10. You find exactly these commands, and what I recommend you is just take these commands, tell ChatGPT to swap out the folder names, the domain name, the IP address wherever it is needed to get it working for your solution, and then you're good to go. All right, so let's keep going. Again, we want to get the new app running, and for that we have to follow now these exact steps. So I'm logged in to my server, you do the same, and then we can start with the first 3 lines. So these are basically creating the folders that we need on our server now so that the new app can work with them: post image, post output, and fonts. Then we have to give the server the right permissions to work with these folders and files. This is also done. And now we have to upload the actual files into these folders. So this is important. For that, I recommend again to work with CyberDuck. You log in as we already did it before. Then you go to OPT. Then to Rosalia, in my case, you will have another folder here. And when we click now to refresh, you see that we created now new folders. We have now post output, post image, and fonts. And now we have to put in 2 files. We have to put in the right font, and that is Montserrat, exactly that one. And of course, I also provide that in the resources. So you can just download it and then you upload it to your server. Perfect, that worked. Then you go back and exactly into that folder, OPT Rosalia, you now upload the template. Okay, so this is exactly the template that I showed you earlier with the company logo. And I will also include in the resources a little guideline how you can create such a template at Canva so that you can just recreate your own template with your logo and so that everything works for you. All right, so we uploaded exactly the template and the font. So the other we won't use, we just use exactly that font. This is fine. And then we come to step 2, which is optional, but we will do it because, as I said, I already tested it out and then I can guarantee that it will work. So now we just paste that line in and we update and install some more software on our server that we need to get the app running. All right, this is done. Now we install new dependencies in the virtual environment. Remember, we created one earlier. So we take now that one, we paste it in. Now our virtual environment is activated. And then we also install new packages inside that virtual environment. All right, as I already tested it out earlier, in my case, this is already done. In your case, this will install now the packages. Then we deactivate the virtual environment. And we keep going with step number 4. Now we have to swap out the actual app. Okay, so we paste that line in. You see, this is the very first app we created, and with Control and K, we just delete the entire app. Then you go to your GitHub where you imported exactly the app I provide. Make sure you switch out exactly that name in case you want to go with another name. You can just do that here within GitHub. And also make sure to double check that at the very end of the app you have the right port. In my case it is 5002. If you did everything like I did, you also have exactly that port. Then you use Command A to mark the entire code, and with Command C you make a copy. And here back at the server terminal with Command V you paste the entire app in, and then we use Control O, we hit enter and Control X to exit. Okay, so now we swapped out the very small basic Flask app with the actual proper app that we need. All right, now we come to step number 5, and here we have to adjust a little bit the systemd service. Remember, this was the service that keeps our app running 24/7. So we just paste that in here, and we also have to update that. So we just delete it entirely, and then you go with that version. You make a copy, and in your case you just paste that to ChatGPT and tell it to adjust it to exactly the name of your folder and your app name. In my example it is called Rosalia Flask app, but you go with your name. Of course, if you did everything exactly like I did it with the same names and everything, you can just copy that. All right, so we paste that in here, and we use Control O, enter and Control X to go out again. Then we reload it with exactly that line. We paste it and we hit enter. Then we go to step number 6, and this is updating the Nginx configuration. So we just make a copy, we paste that in, we hit enter, and this is the entire Nginx configuration, and we need to add now exactly that very last block here, exactly that one. I already did it. In your case this will be missing, and you have to add exactly that block to the Nginx configuration. And as we did that before, I recommend you to just make a copy of the entire configuration, paste it to ChatGPT and tell it to include exactly that block, or you just use the block that I provide in the resources and ask ChatGPT to adjust it. Very simple. Then you use Control O, enter and Control X to exit. Then we have to test it. We hit here this command. Syntax is okay, test is successful, this looks good. And then with that line here, we can reload it or restart it, however you want to call it. All right, and then in the very last step, we restart again the entire app with Control V. Also, this looks good, active and running, and our web server Gunicon is listening on the right port. So this is what you want to see. And then in step number 9, you just make a copy of that entire command. You go to the server terminal. You see, I already tested it out quite often. We put it in and we hit enter. And then it takes a couple of seconds, and then you get back exactly that command, and this actually looks good. So you make a copy of exactly the URL you get here until JPEG, where it says download URL with Command and C. Then you go to the browser and you paste that in, you hit enter, and then you get the final post. It worked great, but of course this is not a yacht. This is just an example image that is publicly available, and we just use that to test it out. But later this will be our yacht image. Then we have up here the logo, we have here the title, the name of the yacht, and then also some bullet points. But this is just a placeholder. This will be later connected to init-n, and you get exactly such an image as you saw it before. Exactly that one. And I say it again, I will provide in the resources also a guideline how you can create such a template at Canva with all the measurements, so that you can create that with your logo and that in the end it looks exactly like that. All right, that's it for day 10. Sorry guys for the little confusion. I know it was a little bit tricky, but this is just the plain reality. Sometimes things do not work out right away, but with the bashes that I command you in the resources, you can easily just do everything here for yourself. Just make sure to always go slow and controlled. If something is unclear, reach out to me in the comments or send me an email. And I highly recommend you to always let ChatGPT do the adjustments of the codes and commands, because then you can guarantee that you have no syntax errors. All right, that's it for day 10. Let me know in the comments how the tutorial is working for you, if everything worked fine. And then we see us tomorrow at day 11 of the 30-day AI Automation Pro Challenge. And there we will finally bring everything together, and you will learn why just n8n is not enough. And while you need all these things, we will connect everything, and then everything will finally make sense. So stay tuned, we attack again tomorrow.